Sandi McMenami is with me. You can ring us if you'd like to on 0491 65 68 60. Leon Biner was coming in. He was going to drop by, but he just sent me a message to say he's got a cold, and the doctor said, go to bed. Stay out of a draft. Poor Leon, yep. Leon, if you are listening, I hope you feel better soon. And maybe come in next Friday if you can make it. A cheery soul. Patrick White, anything but a cheery soul. I mean, he's a very complicated man, but he seemed to...
I'm reading up on him. I mean, Peter Goers, director, wonderful director.
He knows a lot about him.
He certainly does.
Yeah.
And he's been waiting 40 years to put on this play. 40 years.
Peter has.
He just loves the play so much.
Yeah.
So he's finally got it, and Martha is brilliant as the lead.
Yeah.
I mean, her acting ability plus, remembering all those lines. And
I
the
know, but you're also good.
Well, I'm not an actress. I'm there because I'm a musician. I'm actually not in the original script. They needed a church organist, and that little hymn that they sing in the church was actually in the script, but it didn't have music, so I just wrote some music for that.
But you walk out with that expression on your face. Was that Peter's idea or your idea?
Well, I have to be grumpy.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I am not used to being grumpy. No. I'm used to smiling you do piano bar, and you're smiling at everybody. Doesn't matter who. Doing songs for everybody. So to be grumpy is really difficult.
Out of character.
Out of character. So I have to maybe act on that. But it does make people laugh. So then I have to keep a straight face. So it's my first bit of acting for 53 years.
Wow.
I did one at university, and that was all. Usually I was in the orchestra pit playing the piano, musical direction, and that's what I've mostly done. But that one time I wanted to be on stage and do something.
What did you study at university?
Music. Classical music. So I've done my music degree. I had Lance Dosser as a piano teacher, brilliant. Richard Meal as a piano teacher. He was a composer as well, so I got some insight into composing, which was really great. But musical theatre was kind of frowned on by the conservatorium in those days. And musical theatre was what I really wanted to do. I was brought up on My Fair Lady, Sound of Music, all of those great shows, and that's what I really wanted to do. But the 70s came along, and Billy Joel, like he's just played, Elton John, they're playing the piano, and these are classical people. So then I changed, then I added those songs as well, and eventually went into piano bar. Somebody pushed me to sing one night, so I sang, and it kind of went from there, and then went overseas and worked overseas in piano bars. Came back to Adelaide. Eventually, I think that's when I saw you last, which might be. Not going to say because Jeremy's a young person.
It would have to be 35 years ago.
Yeah,
40,
I reckon
like
35 years ago. And no piano bar.
No.
It's great to see now in Melbourne, where I've been for 2.5 years, but I'm back. Because I've got one daughter with grandchildren there and family, and one daughter here, so I'm visiting, going backwards and forwards on the overland. But piano bar is coming back in Melbourne. So it'll be lovely to see it coming back in Adelaide.
Yeah, well, it's a timeless and proven formula. I had a restaurant down Melbourne Street called Decker's.
Oh, right.
Well, I had it. It had me, put it that way. I really knew nothing about it, but I was captivated by the people who ran restaurants and did hospitality because they just made it look so easy. And I kept thinking to myself, I could do this. I could do this, but it's the hardest business, I think, in the world to own and run a restaurant. But we didn't have a piano bar, but we did have the opportunity to have people to come in and sing. This is where I met Peter Clayton, who helps me in the garage with the Court of Public Opinion podcast and all of that. Because he's a very, very talented character. He does all kinds of different things. But he would just sit on a stool with his guitar And it started because he came in one day and he said, would you mind if I tried to get a job here, a gig, playing my guitar and singing? And I said, yeah, you've got your guitar. What sort of songs do you do? And he had a whole repertoire of, it just happened to be the things that I really love, like Gordon Lightfoot,
Yep.
you know, A Second Cup of Coffee, and Chris Christopherson.
Oh, yeah.
And all of these fantastic songs he could sing. I see, with people who sing, I can never comprehend how you can remember the words. And you've got a whole repertoire of songs up here, and if you're playing the organ or playing the guitar or the piano and you have to sing along with it, how do you do that?
It's, repetition is one thing, but also if they follow a story, that's good, because then you can just go from one, you imagine what the story's doing, and it follows on in that way. A repetition helps a lot, because I used to do American Pie from memory, which went on forever.
Great song in radio, because it gave you time to go to the loo if you needed to.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. And you mentioned about being an extrovert or an introvert, and I never was an extrovert.
No, most people in the business are not extroverts. It's quite strange.
No, I was a musical person, and so being in the orchestra pit or even in piano bar, you're not really you're never the star anyway, because the song
playing a part.
Yeah, that's right. The song is the star, and the audience, they're the stars as well. So you're actually conveying that song to the audience, and so they're not looking at you. But it was, but I was always piano bar where people were talking at the same time. There would always be one person listening. And so you would aim for that one person, whoever it was.
It's rude, though, isn't it? I mean, you go in there and there's somebody sitting at the piano and you just keep on talking, and you have to sing over the top of it.
I used to love the people and who would sit near the piano, and then they'd send a message to the waiter, can the piano player please put the volume down? And I'd say, well, why can't you go and sit over the other side, because there's lots of empty tables.
Did they come along and put jam in your jar, as Billy Joel would say?
Well, I'm not terribly good at money, so obviously I'm not a Virgo. But I didn't. And I remember one memorable night at Eyre's house, Sybil Graham popped in.
Oh, yes.
And it might have been New Year's Eve or some big function like that. And she came and she played a couple of numbers, and then someone got a glass, brought it over, and then she was getting people to, $1 for a request. And I thought, wow, I wish I could do that. I just can't do it. But
what star sign are you?
I'm a Libra. So same as Barry. As Barry Ian. Hello, Barry. Lovely to see you at my birthday party. It was a while ago. And a happy birthday to you too.
I've got a Libran son born the 12th, which is tomorrow. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. I'm next Wednesday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But it's kind of a wishy-washy sign, Peanuts and Charlie Brown.
No, it's a balancing thing, isn't it? Isn't it that you are very good diplomats? You can see both sides of an argument or both sides of the picture.
And I guess that helps when doing something like piano bar, because you can do a little bit. People walk in and say, "What kind of music do you play?" And I go, "What do you want?" You do a bit of everything.
You take requests?
To please, definitely, to please everybody.
What happens if they ask you for something that you don't know?
Well, you get around that because that happens all the time. You get around that by doing another song by the same artist, another song by the same composer, another song or another song about the same town or country, whatever. And that was one thing about writing the song about Adelaide. I thought, I've been singing all these songs about New York, Chicago, Paris. I love Paris in the springtime.
That's a good song. I like that.
Beautiful.
Who sang that?
Everybody.
I suppose, but there was one hit version of 78. I can remember it as clear as day.
Yeah.
I love Paris. When it sizzles.
Yeah, that's right. And we should have more songs about Australian cities.
Yeah.
And this
you started the trend.
Well, no. There's people before me. There's a guy about 100 years ago, and his name's gone out of my head at the moment. He wrote a wonderful song about Victor Harbour. called I Long to Be at Victor in the Summertime, 'cause I belong to Victor Harbour's sunny clime, the breezy southern ocean. Anyway, it was his thing to do more songs about Australian places.
If I get a piano in here, can you come in every Friday? And
Love to.
Okay, all right. We'll take requests, ladies and gentlemen.
We can do requests. So it's 20 years ago, Ron Tremaine rang me up out of the blue after they moved from Alice Springs and said, come down and see us at Rapid Bay.
Yeah.
Rapid Bay? Anyway, it's so I popped down there and he said, you should be doing Cabaret. He heard me play the piano and sing. And I said, oh, yes, sure. And he said it a couple of times. I realised he was serious. I said, fine, if I do Cabaret, you're my manager.
Yes.
And so that happened. That worked.
Well, he did that quite a bit.
Yes, it did. And have that encouragement behind you to push you centre stage when you haven't been centre stage all that time. People were not talking anymore. They were actually listening and looking. You do it all the time. It's incredible.
No.
So it's...
Well, I don't. I won't say I've never acted. Because in the beginning, you do anything and everything that you possibly can to give you some experience.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel comfortable at all acting, particularly in the theatre.
Yeah.
It scared the life out of me.
But you could stand in front of an audience and speak to an audience and command an audience as yourself. Yeah. You didn't have to actually act to do that.
I don't know.
And you did that well?
No, I don't think I did that well. No. But the thing about it is that what you said before, that a lot of the people in the business are introverts. Mm. I remember meeting Graham Kennedy.
Oh, yes.
Now, Graham Kennedy, absolutely on screen, larger than life. Mm-hmm. I mean, God... total, absolute extrovert. Mm-hmm. And when I met him, I thought he was sort of having a joke, taking the mickey or something. Right. He sat there like that, looking down, wouldn't look you in the eye.
Gee.
And I thought he was joking. Uh-huh. But I think he was just intensely shy. Mm-hmm. Incredibly shy.
They do say that, yes. Yeah.
I've always remembered that.
Mm. Yeah, but I mean, we're in the business because we enjoy what we do. You enjoy doing what you do. I enjoy doing music, and so part of that is then the presentation.
But it is also insecurity. I think it's also John Laws, who's just announced his retirement for the second time. He radiates. Self-confidence. Mm. Some might even say arrogance. Mm. But he's a consummate radio performer. Mm-hmm. But he too, because I when I first met him, I was 16 and an office boy at 2GB, and he was the afternoon announcer.
Right.
And he was anything but confident. But put him behind the microphone, and away he went. But I think what it is, you do that, you step out there. Sometimes it's painful, but what you're saying is, like me, approve of me, accept me. And
you're making those people happy, or you're bringing something to those people which is going to be very important. Yeah. So that's the other side.
It's a complicated thing. They tell me that Laurence Olivier was so prone to getting stage fright that he would throw up before a performance. It was just an absolute knot of nerves.
Gosh.
You never imagine that the greatest living actor could have any self-doubt. I mean, people are funny, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, this pushed me on because my mother was a coloratura soprano. Yeah. The very high one. Yeah. But she never went on with it as a profession because she would get anxiety attacks in front of an audience. And I thought, I'm if I get nervous or anything, I'm going to push through that because I don't want to. Then in my later years, not yet.
No.
In my later years,
it's not going to happen in our time.
I could have been that. I could have done that. I could have done. But anyway, it's lovely to be back in Adelaide and to do A Cheery Soul with Peter as the. That's it.
That's it. I got the flyer
as the director, and I've learnt a lot about Patrick White. Yeah. And there's a lot of funny stuff in the show, not a Disney ending though.
No,
definitely not.
No.
But it's a reflection on the suburban life. I guess in the 1950s.
Yes.
I've worn a dress now in the show for the first time for 40 years. Mm-hmm. I don't have to. You
don't like dresses?
No. It's. I think it was when I first went out teaching as a music teacher in high school. I had to teach drums, percussion to year 8 boys.
Teaching drums,
and they were sitting on the floor, and I was sitting at the drum kit.
Yeah.
With the snare drum between my legs. Yeah. Not a good time to wear a dress.
No, I guess not. No. Did you have a stage door mother?
Me? No, definitely not.
So what urged you into the business of entertaining?
I really don't. Well, I was good at piano.
Yeah.
But so was my father. He was brilliant on the piano, and both my parents were school teachers, high school teachers.
Yes.
And Mum was a commercial teacher. Mum had a wacky sense of humour, so I think I'm actually channeling into a bit of that. But no, they wanted me to get the education first.
Yes.
And I really wanted to be out there doing music, so it took me a while to get into that.
Have you ever done anything but music? I mean, as my mother would have said to me, have you ever had a real job, Jeremy? You don't call talking on the radio a job. When I came back to Adelaide after, piano bar overseas, I couldn't get a job, piano bar. But I approached the education department again, and they said, no, you've got to have your diploma of education. So I applied to do that, and the university knocked me back. So I thought, what can I do? Okay, I can teach the piano. I mean, you look at what you can do, and then you can, then you do that. So Les has just walked back in.
Yes, hello,
Les.
Sandy, I was just talking to Caroline, Jeremy's other half.
And the glass of wine obviously got lost.
We were talking about that. We were starting to get the tremors.
You were probably out there having a drink.
No, actually.
Admiring the bottle.
Oh, admiring the bottle.
It's there. It's still there.
Due reverence.
But I was going to ask Sandy the question because Caroline and I were talking about your career in Cabaret. And what I've noticed in Australia versus, say, Europe and the United States, Cabaret was always more popular, dinner shows and different type of entertainment when you're doing a dinner show versus simply off stage or singing to an audience. Why do you think Cabaret never really took off in Australia to the same extent of Europe or Australia, United States?
I think Cabaret, strictly speaking, is the one where you've got the tables and people can sit around the tables. In the 70s, we used to call it theatre restaurant.
Oh, yes.
And I think there's still some theatre restaurant that was going on in Adelaide as well. I was in Melbourne at that time, and that went off, but that went very, very well. But Cabaret, I mean, we have a Cabaret Festival here in Adelaide, and it's the second biggest cabaret festival in the world. I think New York is...
But we don't have something that's sort of like ongoing, like every week, continual... Like they might have in Las Vegas and other big cities.
Oh, right. Yeah, I guess the population of Adelaide is another thing that.
But say Melbourne or Sydney.
Yeah, Melbourne. They have a bit. They have more in Melbourne. Yes. Definitely. That Palms at the casino in Melbourne is going all the time with big shows. Yes. Even Hans.
Oh
so, yes. So we don't have so much of the population here. Although, I reckon if Ron Tremaine was still around and he had a venue, he could probably do something.
Yeah, we don't have the entrepreneurs, do we? The people who seem to know what will work and are prepared to take a risk to make it work.
That's right, and you've got to have the insurance and the
red tape is another thing that stands in the way.
That's right, but there's certainly plenty of performers.
Yeah.
Like in the old days, the Old King's Music Hall.
Yes.
And I never did Old King's Music Hall. I know Barry Eggington did ask me once if I could play the piano for the next Old King's show, and I said yes. And I knew my parents would not approve because.
How old were you?
Probably probably early 20s.
Yes. We did what our parents and our mothers particularly told us to.
Yeah.
Our generation, I mean. We respected what they thought and what they said.
We were more subservient and more obedient. But there was reason for that too, Jeremy, I think.
Yeah.
But the night before the first rehearsal, the place burnt down.
Whoops.
I always thought it was my fault.
You weren't having a ciggy, were you?
No, definitely not, and I still don't swear. But it was just one of those things. But we have our reunions, the Old King's reunions, and I'm in there because I know most of the people there. So we have plenty of performers, and it would be lovely to have those shows. Yeah. But I think they're too expensive now.
Do you ever run into Barry Hall?
I did for this.
Yeah.
Because I'm playing an old pedal organ.
Uh-huh.
It's hilarious. And I was supposed to have an old pedal. Where do you find it? I rang up Barry Hall.
Scammels.
Really?
Well, the odd pedal organ comes up. Yeah, 40 or 50 bucks.
Oh, that's good because this one has only got one pedal working, so if that goes. But Barry said there's one at the Capri that nobody's using. He said, I'm going there next Thursday to practice on the big theatre organ, one that goes up and down the hall. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'll check it out. And he did. And he said, it's a little bit out of tune, but no, for what you want, it's great. So they've lent it to us.
I'd imagine pedal organs, like electronic organs, would be like exercise equipment, most unused and in the back of the garage somewhere, collecting dust.
Well, actually, to tell the truth, they actually want us to keep it now at Holden Street Theatres, so I don't know. But yeah, I thought doing that, pedalling up and down, good exercise for the legs.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, but only one works, so the right leg gets it.
Yeah, and the bellows over time. I mean, nobody knows how to fix these old organs.
It's been,
But you play it beautifully.
Thank you very much. I am actually a piano player. I'm not an organist.
What's the difference? I mean, they're just the keyboard. Is it similar? No.
When people say that.
The keyboard as well, and they're quite different.
Oh yes, yeah, and the piano has that pedal. There's pedals on a sustain pedal. So
I
it holds
thought
on.
that was just affectation. You mean they actually do something, those pedals?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
But if we come in and I've got a piano and everything, I can show you how it all works. But it sustains the notes, so you can play a whole lot of notes on the piano and keep that pedal down, and it holds on to all of those notes. And you can't do it physically, whereas on an organ you have to physically make everything smooth.
Yeah. Can you play by ear? Can you? Well, in other words, I mean, reading music would seem to me to be an inhibiting factor. But if you have a song in your head and you can actually...
By ear.
I can't read music, but if I can remember the song...
Yeah, Tony can't read music, but he plays by ear.
Yeah, and Sybil Graham couldn't play. She couldn't read music. All of her music that she did was all by ear.
Apparently Paul McCartney can't read music either.
It's too complicated, little blobs of black.
Yeah, who thought of that?
Ridiculous.
But I because I learnt to play piano through reading, then my reading is very good. And to learn to play by ear was very difficult in the beginning. I thought, how do I? But eventually I can do pieces of music by... But in the interval where I play for all of the interval, playing church hymns, and which gets a little bit tiring, and my character goes off to sleep, and yet again. And I'm now, for the lighting guy, putting in little bits of, I think a couple of nights ago I put in a bit of Stairway to Heaven. And then last night it was Smoke on the Water, and just to give him a bit of a laugh up there, and just only a tiny bit of it because I have to get back to the church hymns, of course. So 3 more shows to go, and I'm thinking what I can do tonight. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, it'll come to you.
It'll come.
It'll come to you.